In the dusty expanse of the Lazy Bee Ranch, a young girl named Sandra Day spent her days riding through fields and canyons, learning lessons of life from the land itself. The ranch, a sprawling acreage in the arid Arizona desert, was not merely a backdrop for her childhood but a primary educator. It taught her the values of diligence and resilience, qualities that would later define her both personally and professionally. It was here, in the solitude of the Arizona desert, where Sandra's spirit of independence took root, fostered by endless skies and the rhythms of ranch life. The isolation of the ranch meant that Sandra and her siblings were often their own companions, leading to a childhood that was both challenging and uniquely liberating. Raised by a father who valued hard work and a mother who insisted on education, Sandra's upbringing was a blend of frontier toughness and intellectual curiosity. Her mother, Ada Mae, was a driving force, ensuring that Sandra's education did not suffer despite the remote location, providing her with books and lessons that sparked the young girl's interest in the wider world. From mending fences to mending books, Sandra's early years on the ranch taught her not just to survive, but to thrive in environments both challenging and changing. These formative experiences on the ranch instilled in her a practical approach to problem solving, a trait that would become a hallmark of her judicial philosophy. Leaving the ranch for school and the city, Sandra carried with her the resilience and self-reliance instilled by her early life in the rugged West. The transition was significant, from the open spaces of the ranch to the structured environment of the school, yet Sandra adapted swiftly, showing an early aptitude for leadership and academic excellence. The vast deserts and towering mesas were not just backdrops to her childhood but classrooms that taught her about nature's laws and life's hardships. These landscapes shaped her perceptions and her understanding of the natural and social order, grounding her in a deep respect for both tradition and progress. In her letters home, Sandra spoke of a world beyond the ranch, her words reflecting a young mind eager to explore, understand, and influence. These letters are a window into her evolving perspective, revealing a blend of homespun wisdom and nascent ambition. Even as a young student, Sandra's determination to excel was evident, paving the way for a life of groundbreaking achievements and unwavering commitment to justice. Her participation in school activities was not merely extracurricular, it was the beginning of a lifelong pursuit of equity and excellence. Stepping through the gates of Radford School for Girls, Sandra Day was introduced to a new world of academic rigor and extracurricular opportunity. This educational environment was a stark contrast to the open fields of her childhood, yet she navigated these new challenges with the same determination and resilience learned on the Lazy Bee Ranch. At Radford, Sandra quickly distinguished herself not only through academic excellence but also as a leader among her peers. She engaged in debate, student government, and various clubs, shaping her early views on leadership and civic responsibility. Her active participation reflected a growing awareness of societal issues and a burgeoning desire to contribute positively to her community. Her essays from these years reveal a burgeoning intellectual prowess, a keen mind grappling with complex societal issues far beyond the school's walls. Sandra's writings, marked by clarity and insight, addressed topics from government policy to civil rights, indicating an early commitment to justice and equality. As she walked across the stage at graduation, the accolades Sandra received were not just for academic achievements but for a character forged by both adversity and accomplishment. Her high school years culminated in a valedictory moment that promised future successes in the wider realms of higher education and beyond. Stanford University was the next stage in Sandra's journey, where the landscapes changed but the challenges continued to mold her. Entering one of the nation's most prestigious universities, Sandra was poised to take her place among America's future leaders. Here, amidst the intellectual ferment of post-war America, Sandra immersed herself in the study of economics before turning to the law, drawn by its promise of public service and societal impact. Her time at Stanford was not just an academic endeavor but a profound personal and intellectual transformation. In Stanford Law School, Sandra's resolve was tested among the best and brightest. Her notes reflect a rigorous engagement with the law, each page a testament to her thoroughness and foresight. These years were marked by intense study and reflection, as she honed her analytical skills and prepared for a life in law. Graduating in the top 10% of her class, Sandra Day O'Connor's law school years laid the groundwork for a legal career that would see her break through countless barriers, setting a precedent for women everywhere. Her academic achievements at Stanford were just the beginning of a historic journey that would lead her to the highest echelons of American jurisprudence. Fresh from the halls of Stanford Law, Sandra Day O'Connor stepped into a job market that was far from welcoming. Despite her impeccable credentials and sharp legal mind, the doors of the most prestigious law firms remained closed to her, not for lack of merit, but simply because she was a woman. Each rejection letter was a reminder of the gender barriers firmly in place during the 1950s. Yet, these letters did little to dampen her resolve. Instead, they steeled her determination to forge her own path in the world of law. Unable to find a position in an established firm, Sandra took a bold step. She opened her own law office. It was a modest beginning, dealing with small contracts, wills, and other civil matters, but it was hers, a place where she could practice law on her own terms. This early venture was not just an act of defiance against a discriminatory system but a pivotal moment in her career. It taught her invaluable lessons about the law, about running a business, and about persevering against the odds. In her small office, Sandra worked tirelessly, often late into the night. She handled everything from mundane legal filings to complex negotiations, building a reputation for meticulousness and fairness. Her commitment to justice extended beyond her own practice. Sandra volunteered at legal clinics, helping those less fortunate navigate the complexities of the law. This work was not only a service to the community but a crucial part of her legal education. Each case she took on, whether big or small, was handled with the same level of dedication and acumen. Her early legal practice became a testament to her ability to adapt and excel in a profession that was still largely male-dominated. Sandra's early successes in the courtroom and her advocacy in the community slowly began to dismantle the doubts about women's capabilities in the legal field. She was not just practicing law, she was paving the way for future generations of women lawyers. In 1969, Sandra Day O'Connor stepped into a new arena that was as challenging as any courtroom, the Arizona State Senate. Her decision to enter politics was driven by a desire to effect change on a larger scale, leveraging her legal expertise to shape state legislation. Sandra's campaign was marked by her straightforward approach and her ability to connect with voters on a personal level. Her messages were clear and focused on justice, family values, and public service, resonating with a wide audience who saw her not just as a candidate, but as a representative of their aspirations and concerns. Once elected, Sandra brought to the Senate a lawyer's precision and a rancher's work ethic. She was quick to navigate the complexities of legislative work, advocating for reforms in public health, education, and the judiciary. Her colleagues, even those on opposite sides of the aisle, respected her for her integrity and her unwavering commitment to the public good. Her early years in the Senate were a testament to her effectiveness and her growing influence in state politics. Sandra was not one to seek the spotlight, yet her accomplishments spoke loudly, paving her path towards greater leadership roles within the Senate. In a historic move, Sandra was elected a majority leader by her peers, becoming the first woman to hold this position in Arizona's history. This role put her at the heart of political strategy and legislative decision-making, challenging her to steer complex legislation through tumultuous political waters. As majority leader, Sandra wielded her influence with a blend of diplomacy and firmness. She was instrumental in orchestrating the passage of key legislation, often bridging partisan divides to find common ground. Her leadership style was both inclusive and decisive, earning her the respect and admiration of many. Under her leadership, the Arizona Senate saw significant advancements in areas such as judicial reform, environmental protection, and educational funding. Each bill she championed was a step towards creating a more equitable and prosperous state. Sandra Day O'Connor's tenure as Majority Leader was marked not just by the laws she helped to enact, but by the way she transformed the role of women in Arizona politics. Her legacy in the Senate was that of a trailblazer who used her position to effect substantial, lasting change. Following her notable tenure in the state Senate, Sandra Day O'Connor's journey took her to the benches of Arizona's judiciary. In 1975, she was appointed to the Maricopa County Superior Court, marking the beginning of her judicial career, a new chapter where her legislative experience and legal acumen would converge. Judge O'Connor stepped into her role with a deep understanding of the law and a balanced perspective that she had honed through her political and legal experiences. Her approach to the bench was characterized by a meticulous attention to detail and a profound respect for the legal process. On the Superior Court bench, Sandra dealt with a wide array of cases, from civil disputes to serious criminal offenses. She quickly gained a reputation as a judge who was both fair and firm, someone who adjudicated with an unwavering commitment to justice and equity. Her courtroom was a place of order and respect. Lawyers and litigants alike noted her impartiality in the clear, concise manner in which she communicated her decisions. Her rulings were not only well-reasoned but also reflective of her deep empathy and understanding of human complexities. As a state judge, Sandra Day O'Connor's influence extended beyond the individual decisions she made. She was instrumental in shaping the judiciary itself, advocating for reforms that improved the efficiency and fairness of the court system. Her legacy includes the establishment of educational programs for judges and court staff, enhancing their skills and ensuring that the judiciary remained adaptive and responsive to the needs of the public. One of her landmark rulings involved a complex case of water rights, a pressing issue in Arizona. Her decision not only resolved the immediate conflict but also set a legal framework that would guide future water law in the state, demonstrating her foresight and her ability to address pressing societal issues through judicial means. Sandra Day O'Connor's tenure as a state judge was marked by her dedication to improving the legal landscape of Arizona. Her reputation as a judicious and progressive thinker paved the way for her eventual nomination to the highest court in the land, setting the stage for her historic appointment to the United States Supreme Court. In the summer of 1981, a seismic shift occurred within the halls of the United States Supreme Court. President Ronald Reagan, fulfilling a campaign promise to appoint the first woman to the Supreme Court, turned his attention to a judge from Arizona who had steadily built a reputation for integrity and balanced jurisprudence. The announcement was met with widespread public interest and media attention. For many, Sandra Day O'Connor's nomination was not just a political milestone, it was a long overdue acknowledgement of the role women could and should play in the highest levels of the judiciary. While many celebrated the decision, others scrutinized her judicial record and her political background, questioning her stance on various pressing issues. The national debate highlighted the significance of her prospective role and the impact it would have on the fabric of American law. During her Senate confirmation hearings, Sandra Day O'Connor displayed her characteristic poise and intellect. Facing a barrage of questions on everything from constitutional law to her views on gender equality, she navigated the hearings with grace and acuity, reinforcing her suitability for the High Court. The Senate confirmed her appointment with a vote of 99-0, a testament to her broad support across political lines and her undeniable qualifications. This overwhelming endorsement propelled her onto the Supreme Court, where she would soon make history. Sandra Day O'Connor's swearing-in was a moment of immense personal and national significance. As she took her oath, she not only assumed a new role as a Supreme Court justice but also shouldered the hopes and expectations of millions of Americans. Justice O'Connor quickly established herself as a pragmatic and pivotal figure on the bench. Her early opinions reflected a deep respect for precedent and a nuanced understanding of the law's impact on everyday lives. She often found herself as the swing vote in critical decisions, her centrist approach shaping the court's direction. As her tenure progressed, Justice O'Connor became not just a judicial leader but a symbol of progress and possibility. Her presence on the Supreme Court inspired a generation of women in law and beyond, redefining what was possible for women in positions of power and influence. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor arrived at the Supreme Court with a well-established reputation for being pragmatic and cautious in her approach to the law. Her judicial philosophy was grounded in a deep respect for the limited role of the courts, emphasizing judicial restraint and the importance of state rights within the federal system. O'Connor often stressed the necessity of adhering to constitutional text and historical context, steering clear of broad judicial overreach. She was particularly adept at navigating complex legal landscapes, crafting decisions that sought a balance between the letter of the law and its impact on society. Her questions during oral arguments were sharp and probing, reflecting her rigorous preparation and her ability to cut to the heart of the matter. This meticulousness was a hallmark of her tenure, as she sought to understand not just the legal but also the practical implications of the court's decisions. Justice O'Connor's influence extended far beyond individual cases. Her presence on the bench was a stabilizing force, often bridging the gap between the court's conservative and liberal factions. Her centrist views helped shape the court's jurisprudence in profound ways, affecting issues from racial equality to state sovereignty. One of her most pivotal roles came in the case of a Planned Parenthood versus Casey, where her opinion reaffirmed the core holding of Roe v. Wade while allowing for some state regulations on abortion procedures. Her pragmatic approach sought to reflect a consensus view, emphasizing the doctrine of stare decisis, the importance of precedent in providing stability to the law. Her decisions often elicited strong reactions from various quarters, highlighting her central role in the nation's most contentious debates. Whether upholding or restricting rights, her opinions were always underpinned by a keen awareness of the legal precedents and the potential ramifications of each ruling. In Grutter v. Bollinger, Justice O'Connor wrote the majority opinion that upheld the affirmative action admissions policy, articulating a clear vision for the role of diversity in education and its value in fostering a vibrant and inclusive society. Her ruling reflected her belief in the law as a dynamic instrument for social progress. Throughout her career, Justice Sandra Day O'Connor remained a figure of both reverence and controversy. Her opinions helped to navigate the country through periods of great change, crafting a legacy that continues to influence the legal landscape long after her retirement. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor frequently found herself in the most influential position on the U.S. Supreme Court, the swing vote. Her pragmatic approach to law and her moderate views positioned her uniquely to tip the scales in closely divided cases, shaping major legal precedents for over 2 decades. The media and public often speculated on how Justice O'Connor would vote in high-profile cases. Her vote was not just a point of legal interest but a subject of national conversation, underscoring her critical role in the court's dynamics. Analysts and scholars pored over her judicial record, attempting to discern patterns that might predict her decisions. However, O'Connor defied simple categorization, guided by her careful consideration of each case's facts and merits rather than a rigid ideological framework. When the court was deeply divided, all eyes turned to Justice O'Connor. Her colleagues on the bench and the American public alike knew that her decision could fundamentally alter the legal landscape, making her one of the most watched and influential justices in modern history. Perhaps one of the most consequential moments of her career was during the 2000 presidential election case, Bush versus Gore. Justice O'Connor's vote to halt the Florida recount effectively decided the outcome of the election, demonstrating the immense power of her swing vote. The decision drew sharp criticism and praise, reflecting the divisive nature of the case. Critics argued that her vote undermined voter rights, while supporters saw it as necessary for ensuring a timely resolution to a uniquely complex electoral dilemma. In cases spanning from affirmative action in education to reproductive rights, Justice O'Connor's votes were often seen as pragmatic and nuanced, balancing individual rights with states' powers. Her judicial philosophy frequently sought to mediate between extremes, crafting narrow rulings that addressed specific issues while avoiding broader judicial upheaval. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor's role as the swing vote left a profound legacy on the Supreme Court. Her decisions not only shaped contemporary American law but also set precedents that continue to influence the court's jurisprudence. Her legacy as a jurist is characterized by a deep commitment to balance and moderation, reflecting her belief that the middle ground was often where justice truly resided. When Sandra Day O'Connor was appointed to the Supreme Court in 1981, it was not just a personal triumph but a watershed moment for women's rights in America. Her presence on the court brought a new perspective to a judiciary that had historically been dominated by men, and she quickly became an icon of gender equality. Justice O'Connor's rise to the Supreme Court was hailed by advocates for women's rights as a signal of progress, inspiring countless women to pursue careers in law. Her example challenged the stereotypes and barriers that had limited women's roles in the judiciary and beyond. Throughout her tenure, Justice O'Connor was mindful of the impact of the law on women's lives. She advocated for legal interpretations that considered the realities of gender discrimination, and her judicial opinions often reflected a nuanced understanding of the ways in which the law intersected with gender issues. Off the bench, she was a mentor to many young women in the legal field, encouraging them to strive for excellence and to challenge the status quo. Her commitment to mentoring was a testament to her dedication to shaping a more inclusive and equitable legal landscape. In cases involving workplace discrimination, reproductive rights, and family law, Justice O'Connor's decisions often prioritized fairness and equality. Her legal reasoning in these cases helped to advance women's rights and provided greater protections against discrimination. The correspondence received by Justice O'Connor from women across the country illustrates the profound impact she had on individuals and on the broader movement for gender equality. Many wrote to express their admiration and to thank her for her courage and leadership. Even after her retirement, Justice O'Connor remained a vocal advocate for women's rights, speaking at conferences and public forums about the importance of equal rights and the role of women in leadership. Her voice continued to resonate, urging ongoing efforts towards gender equality. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor's legacy as a champion of women's rights is enduring. Her influence extends beyond her judicial opinions to her role as a pioneer who forever changed the landscape of American law and inspired generations of women to pursue justice and equality. Sandra Day met John J. O'Connor while attending Stanford Law School, and their partnership would prove to be a cornerstone of both their lives. Married in 1952, the couple embarked on a journey that saw them both support each other's careers while forging their path together. As a mother of 3 sons, Scott, Brian, and Jay, Sandra Day O'Connor faced the challenge of balancing her demanding career with her responsibilities as a parent. Her ability to maintain this balance was a testament to her organizational skills and her commitment to her family. In her personal writings, Justice O'Connor often reflected on the challenges of motherhood, particularly during the early years of her judicial career. She spoke candidly about the struggles of juggling court duties with soccer games and school events, offering a glimpse into the realities faced by working mothers. Despite her rigorous schedule, Sandra made it a priority to be involved in her children's lives. Her presence at school functions and family gatherings was as important to her as her presence in the courtroom. The O'Connor family found strength in their close-knit relationships, often escaping to their cabin in the mountains to reconnect and recharge. These moments away from the public eye were cherished by Sandra, providing much-needed respite and family bonding. Sandra Day O'Connor's role as a working mother broke new ground and provided a role model for women in law and other demanding professions. Her ability to manage a high-profile career in a fulfilling family life has been an inspiration to many, earning her admiration not just for her professional achievements but for her personal strength. In interviews, Justice O'Connor often emphasized the importance of having a supportive partner and effective time management strategies. She credited her husband John's understanding and shared domestic responsibilities as key factors that enabled her to pursue her career. As she stepped down from the Supreme Court to care for her ailing husband, Sandra Day O'Connor demonstrated the depth of her commitment to her family. Her decision to retire was driven by the same values that she had upheld throughout her life: a dedication to family, duty, and the personal sacrifices that sometimes accompany both. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor's commitment to service extended well beyond the courtroom. Throughout her career, she was deeply involved in community activities, using her status to influence and advocate for civic education and volunteerism. She was particularly passionate about education, frequently visiting schools to speak about the importance of understanding the legal system and the responsibilities of citizenship. Her efforts aimed to inspire younger generations to take an active interest in the law and public service. Justice O'Connor co-founded iCivics, an online platform designed to teach students about civics through interactive games and lessons. This initiative reflected her belief that strengthening civic education was crucial for maintaining a healthy democracy. Her presence at these events was not just ceremonial. Sandra was actively involved, engaging with participants, sharing insights, and often imparting words of wisdom that encouraged others to contribute positively to their communities. As a public speaker, Justice O'Connor captivated audiences with her sharp intellect and straightforward speaking style. She was a sought-after speaker, known for her ability to clarify complex legal principles and advocate for judicial and civic causes. Her speeches often made headlines, resonating with many who admired her pragmatic approach to law and leadership. Through her public engagements, she became a symbol of integrity and a voice advocating for thoughtful, informed participation in government and law. Sandra Day O'Connor's contributions were widely recognized with numerous awards and honors, celebrating her impact on education and the legal profession. These accolades were a testament to her lifelong commitment to service and her ability to inspire action and change. Justice O'Connor's public presence left an indelible mark on American society. Her advocacy work, particularly in education and law, continues to influence discussions on how best to engage and educate citizens about their rights and responsibilities. In 2006, Justice Sandra Day O'Connor made the difficult decision to retire from the Supreme Court, a decision driven by her devotion to her family, particularly her husband, John J. O'Connor, who was battling Alzheimer's disease. Her retirement marked the end of an era but also the beginning of a new chapter focused on personal commitments and continued advocacy. In her retirement announcement, Justice O'Connor expressed a deep sense of responsibility and affection for her husband, underscoring the personal sacrifices often made by public figures. Her openness about her family's struggles with Alzheimer's brought national attention to the disease and its impact on families. The news of her retirement was met with widespread acclaim for her groundbreaking career and poignant empathy for her personal situation. Colleagues and admirers alike praised her integrity and the prudent jurisprudence that defined her tenure on the bench. Retirement from the Supreme Court did not diminish Sandra Day O'Connor's drive to serve the public. She redirected her energies into furthering civic education and judicial independence, continuing to shape public policy and legal thought. Her most notable post-retirement project was the founding of iCivics, a nonprofit organization dedicated to reinvigorating civic education across the United States. Her vision was to empower the next generation with a strong understanding of government and the skills necessary for civic engagement. Her continued efforts were recognized with numerous awards and honors, affirming her status as a pioneer not only in law but also in education reform. Each accolade celebrated her unwavering commitment to building a more informed and participatory democracy. The influence of Sandra Day O'Connor's ideas and initiatives in retirement continued to resonate within the legal community and beyond. Conferences and symposia dedicated to her work discussed the lasting impact of her efforts to promote an understanding of the Constitution and the role of the judiciary. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor's tenure on the United States Supreme Court left an indelible mark on American jurisprudence. Her pragmatic approach to law and her role as the first woman on the Supreme Court transformed how the judiciary is viewed and inspired generations of lawyers and judges. Scholars and legal experts often cite O'Connor's decisions for their balanced reasoning and profound understanding of the practical impact of legal rulings. Her opinions in landmark cases have become essential readings in law schools, not just in the U.S., but around the world. The personal impact of Justice O'Connor on those who worked with her is profound. Many of her clerks have gone on to distinguished careers in law, academia, and public service, carrying forward her legacy of meticulous legal analysis and ethical jurisprudence. Her judicial legacy extends beyond her written opinions. Sandra Day O'Connor's influence permeates contemporary legal debates on civil rights, women's rights, and the structure of government, continuing to shape legal practices and principles. Justice O'Connor's influence reached global dimensions as she represented American jurisprudence on the world stage. She frequently spoke on the importance of an independent judiciary and the rule of law in international forums, advocating for democratic principles across borders. Her work has been recognized by numerous international bodies, highlighting her contributions to advancing global understanding of democracy and judicial independence. These accolades reflect her impact not only as a jurist but as a global ambassador for justice and equality. Through her ongoing work with iCivics, Sandra Day O'Connor has helped foster civic engagement and legal education globally. Partnerships with educational institutions around the world have expanded the reach of her initiatives, influencing young minds across diverse cultures. At venues like the United Nations, Sandra Day O'Connor's legacy is celebrated as a cornerstone of efforts to enhance judicial integrity and promote gender equality in governance. Her life's work continues to inspire and impact global initiatives aimed at creating a more just and equitable society. Throughout her career, Justice Sandra Day O'Connor accumulated a treasure trove of accolades, each representing a pinnacle of recognition from various sectors of society. Her journey, marked by determination and excellence, has been celebrated with awards that few in the judiciary ever achieve. At every award presentation, Sandra Day O'Connor spoke not only of her personal journey but also of the road ahead for women in law. Her words, often laced with humility and foresight, inspired a new generation to strive for justice and equality. Perhaps the most prestigious of these, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, was awarded to Justice O'Connor in 2009. This honor underscored her profound impact on the nation's legal landscape and her role as a trailblazer for women everywhere. Each medal and accolade bestowed upon her was a moment of reflection, a pause in a storied career that reminded the nation of the enduring value of service, integrity, and balance in the administration of justice. The Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law at Arizona State University stands as a monumental tribute to her legacy. Here, the ideals of justice and public service she championed are instilled in thousands of students who walk through its doors each year. The Sandra Day O'Connor U.S. Courthouse in Phoenix is not just a building, it's a vibrant center of legal proceedings and civic engagement, embodying her commitment to the rule of law and her influence on the judicial community. Inside, Plaques and portraits narrate her journey, educating visitors about her groundbreaking role on the Supreme Court. These tributes speak to her pioneering impact and serve as a daily inspiration to those who pursue justice within its walls. Statues and memorials in public spaces across the country immortalize her figure, not just in bronze, but in the collective memory of the nation. These artistic representations celebrate her as a figure of justice, a role model to aspiring lawyers, and a dedicated public servant whose legacy transcends her lifetime. In the quiet corners of law libraries across the nation, the scholarly work on Justice Sandra Day O'Connor's judicial philosophy continues to provoke thought and debate. Her pragmatic approach and nuanced decisions have filled volumes of legal discourse, providing rich material for academic exploration. At symposia and academic gatherings, legal experts dissect her rulings, debating her impact on American law. These forums not only honor her contributions but also challenge and refine the interpretations of her legal legacy. Her written opinions, from landmark decisions on affirmative action to controversial votes on electoral law, continue to serve as primary texts for those studying constitutional law, civil rights, and judicial process. In classrooms, her legacy is alive and evolving. Law professors and students alike wrestle with the practical implications of her decisions, ensuring that her judicial voice continues to resonate in the evolving landscape of American jurisprudence. Beyond the public and professional persona, Sandra Day O'Connor's personal writings reveal a woman who grappled with the weight of her decisions and the responsibilities of her role. Her reflections provide a window into her hopes for the judiciary and her fears about the challenges it faces. In interviews and public appearances post-retirement, Justice O'Connor spoke with candor about her tenure on the Supreme Court. She expressed pride in her accomplishments but also humility about her role in shaping a more just society. Those who knew her best, clerks, colleagues, friends, and family, offer the most personal insights, reflecting on her warmth, wisdom, and unwavering ethical compass. Their testimonials underscore her multifaceted legacy, one that extends far beyond her public achievements. As she gazes out onto the landscapes of Arizona, the place where it all began, Sandra Day O'Connor's legacy is contemplative and secure, cherished by a nation that continues to feel the impact of her service. Her life's work remains a beacon for all who seek to understand the balance between power and responsibility, law and ethics, personal integrity and public duty.